Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Truth Behind the Magic podcast. This episode, we're kind of changing it up a bit. It's still going to be related to the college program, but kind of out of left field a little bit. We're going to be going into more of our own personal preferences on things, probably for the next few videos, and this one is going to be ranking the parks, and I'm not counting the water parks, because some people like to call those theme parks. I do not. I like a good water park, but I haven't been in years because of, I would just say, it's sanitation issues. But other than that, I do love a good water park. But anyway, that aside, we're going to be ranking the 4 main theme parks at Disney World. Of course, you know, Magic Kingdom, Epcot, Hollywood Studios, Animal Kingdom. And I will kind of preface this by saying some of what's said here may be controversial. You never know, but that's not really what I was going to preface that with, but just throwing that in there. My list, I would say, if someone asked me my favorite parks versus the best parks, it might be kind of different, just because to me that is somewhat different. This one is going to be my favorites, and that I would say kind of includes wait times, how much you actually can get done on a day there. Number of attractions can kind of be thrown in there as well. But really, I would say when it comes to favorite parks, I'm looking at it more through the lens of someone who is living there. And that's why this is kind of related to the college program, because I would say the parks I would suggest people to go to if they just had a week-long vacation are probably going to be slightly different than what this list is, but not much. And I'll get into that as we go through kind of why I think this is where you should go, like, on your program or just that kind of thing. But I guess I'll just go ahead and start off. Number 4, which is the lowest on the list, obviously, is very easy for me. It has always been this. In fact, this park opened 4 days before I was born, so I thought I was going to have some kind of weird cosmic connection with it. But when I got down there, I realized it just wasn't really my thing, but that's going to be Animal Kingdom. And it's not a bad park by any means. If you love animals, which I do love animals, but I also love rides, and I don't like only having about 5 rides to choose from. I know that's not the literal number, but it effectively is. I'm not that big on it. If I go there, it's only for about 2 or 3 hours. I do the safari. I'll probably do Expedition Everest. But other than that, there's just, the wait times are so high, like on Flight of Passage. You can't even get on that thing. You can either wait 2 hours or you can buy Lightning Lane. Even when Fast Pass was a thing, I only ever got to ride it one time because I lucked out of getting a Fast Pass like the day of. Someone probably canceled theirs. But yeah, Animal Kingdom, definitely at the bottom of the list for me.
Oh yeah. Animal Kingdom. I mean, if you love animals, like Jason said, it's definitely a good park. One thing I will also say why Animal Kingdom would be at the bottom of my list as well. They got rid of a lot of the performances that they would have during the day. Like, there were bands that would perform in, like, the African themed part of it. There were acrobats in the African themed part of it. I think even the Asian part of it, there were some kind of themes, entertainment of some kind going on. But when we were down there, towards the end of my program, they got rid of them because they weren't part of the union. So that kind of ended that. So it kind of went down in my regard. I mean, again, if you want a place where you can just walk around the whole park real quick and be like, wow, I did that, Animal Kingdom's great for that because it's not really that big. Another thing too is that if you like fireworks and stuff, not going to get that. Not because Disney wants to be cheap. It's just because the noise scares the animals, I guess, and they really don't want they don't want their animals having seizures or heart attacks and stuff because of all the noises, or having flashbacks to if they had been poached or had to deal with poachers. They don't want any of that. So there's not really any of that there. I know there's a good character buffet there. Now remember, those are unless you're using, if you're on the college program, definitely you can. That's where you use your 20% dining discount, because that helps. That'll help it. But if you're just going there, just go. Keep in mind, it's going to be about 65, I think, 70, 75. It's up there. So yeah, definitely keep that. And it's not because, the food is good. It's not because the food isn't good. It's just because the characters there, like Disney makes sure like you're paying for the food, and you're basically paying the customer or the characters' wages, basically is what that amounts to in a nutshell. So yeah, that is that. So, don't be discouraged if it's $75. What was that? Well, it's the whole experience. So that is that. But yeah, I mean, there are some cool things to do. It's definitely more geared towards, like, if you're like in our 20s, like I am and Jason is, it might not be, again, other than the animals and a few rides like Everest, the water ride might be good. The safari might also be good. Other than that, the rest of it's really just for like kids and like educational purposes, which if you like that stuff, that's fine. But if you get bored by it, probably not the part, not a theme park you'd want to go to necessarily.
Yep, and when it comes to the character dining, like Blaze said, any of the character dining is going to be very expensive just because you're meeting the characters, basically. As far as the quality of the meal, you'll probably get a better meal at a actual buffet, non-character buffet at Disney, but who knows? It might be really good at some of the character dining. I've never done any of it because I personally like to eat while I'm eating and not be bothered, so I really do not go to those. Now this is where it gets kind of dicey, because 2 and 3 especially, well, really all 3, 2, and 1 were pretty hard to decide on. But number 3, I did end up putting Hollywood Studios, and there's a couple of reasons for that. Of course, I worked at Hollywood Studios, so it's not like I'm biased against it or for it or something because of that. I think the reason it goes to number 3, well, I will say I think Hollywood Studios has the highest quality attractions. Well, I don't know. It's hard to even say that. Like, I like the thrill rides at Hollywood Studios, but it's, as someone, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just getting ready to say, yeah. So with Hollywood Studios, if nobody knows, it's good. Like, it's kind of a hub in a way. It's kind of like, because you have the Skyliner to Epcot, you have the buses like all there, because the only 2 hubs for buses, if you're really trying to go around, are Disney Springs, and which could be considered the 5th, theme park, if you want, just because of how vast Disney Springs is. But but it's expensive and no right. But yeah, with Hollywood Studios, it's kind of like the in-park hub, if you will, of the area, because you can get connected to so many parks and resorts there as well. But yeah, Hollywood Studios, again, it's a very quick, you can get in and out of there pretty quickly. There's not a whole lot to it. There's some good dining options. If you love Star Wars, if you love, stuff like that, like the Muppets and stuff like that, this is your park. This is heaven on earth for you. Definitely go for that reason, if nothing else. But yeah, Hollywood Studios is really where most of the thrill-seeking roller coaster rides are, like Rock and Roller Coaster and Slinky Dog, both favorites of mine. Now, Rock and Roller Coaster, you gotta be careful because it goes fast, and people have actually had, the heart attacks from it because it goes so fast. So you got to keep that in mind. But
Yeah.
other than that, I mean, it is a true fun park. I would say, actually, considering I've been to Los Angeles, I've seen the Chinese theater. The one at Walt Disney World is way better, just way cleaner. I don't know what it is. LA is not it's not that glamour party everybody thinks it is. It's just in my opinion when I went. But yeah, so you get to see that. You get to see several. There might be like a show or two going on. Again, there's many Star Wars themed, Toy Story, The Muppets, stuff like that. You get to see they have little shows. And again, if it's really hot out, that's good for air conditioning purposes. That's a huge tip I would give anybody is if it's extremely hot, maybe if you don't want to watch the show, at least wait in the lobby of said show because, man, their air conditioning's good, compared to that Florida heat and humidity, as Jason and I know all too well. So, yeah, definitely that. And, so, yeah, it is built for, you can definitely truck it in a while. And also, I know that there's that new barbecue place in Toy Story Land that just opened up. Looks pretty good. We didn't get to try it, sadly. You needed a reservation for it. It had just opened like a month into, Jason's program was, I think, it was either almost over or getting ready to be over. But, yeah, so I tried my Disney charm to try to sneak us in there, but sadly, no, they require reservations. But again, if you or your friends or somebody, if they love seeing Woody and Buzz and everybody, this is really the only place you're going to see them. And that goes also, again, with the Star Wars characters and the occasional Muppet character if they decide to bring them out. Those are where you're going to see them. Like Mickey, Minnie, you might see them. They're there, but not as often as the other characters. So you'll see Darth Vader a lot more, Kylo Ren a lot more, stuff like that. Chewbacca, you're going to see those kind of characters a lot more there. And in fact, that's the only place to see them. So again, yeah. So for some people, this might be their first on their list because they just love all that and all the entrenchment. And I know they have that expensive restaurant, 2020 or 220, where you literally, it's got the animation of you going 220 miles into space and having a $80 dinner. I mean, that's cool, but I can find other things to spend $80 on myself. I'm just saying. But again, enough about that. We're just talking about the park itself. And overall for the park, it's good for its purposes. Again, it's a good hub if you're trying to hop onto another park or back to your resort or whatever the case may be. But yeah, that's why I think it's ranked number 3, just because it's got a few rides, not many. And again, yeah, definitely more oriented towards that kind of thing.
Kermit the Frog here. I cannot believe that you guys have put my park as number 3 on your list. I'm gonna call up Miss Piggy and have her slap you guys down and send you to oblivion.
But no, really, everything that Blaze said is definitely 100% true. If you love thrill rides, especially if you love Star Wars, you will absolutely love Hollywood Studios. And a good day at Hollywood Studios is like a very good experience. Yeah. But the problem is with how many thrill rides there are and how busy those rides are, and they tend to have low capacity, it's hard to get on a ride there that is less than a 45-minute wait. Unless you're talking like Star Tours, sometimes Tower of Terror can dip down below that. There just isn't much if you're someone who doesn't like thrill rides. If you have Lightning Lane, you can tear that place up. Like,
oh yeah.
If you were going there like just on a solo trip, like coming down once a year, and you were going all out buying Lightning Lane and everything, I might even put it at like number 1 or number 2. I don't know. Well, actually, 1 and 2 are probably the same on my list, but yeah, it's really it's just a park that's great, but is kind of held back by its own design. Like it really, when I go there, I will go to Epcot later in the day or vice versa, and then go back and whatever, because
Right.
I like to ride stuff at Hollywood Studios, but I like to eat at Epcot. So,
Right.
but yeah, that was number 3 on my list. I don't know if that was 3 on yours as well.
It was, and just one more tidbit I was going to add. For people who are nostalgic, who have never been to Disney at all, Disneyland, World, whatever, it's good also because, like, if you sit on a bench at Hollywood Studios, right in there in the, close to the entrance, and you hear those 1940s, 50s classic songs and stuff, it really makes you feel like you were there, in Hollywood during that time. And, I know Walt never got to see Disney World opened, but I know he would have loved Hollywood Studios. And, so when I sit on that bench, sometimes I think, well, I know Walt's not here to do it, so I'll do it for him. So it's honestly just a good way for nostalgic purposes to kind of, put yourself back into a different time, if you will. I will say this. Now, again, now, if they did include the Roger Rabbit characters, who knows? Maybe that place is like number 1 in every person's heart. I don't know. But yeah, definitely, it's good for nostalgia. It's good for the rides. They have a lot of they have good food there. I know there's that 50s cafe or whatever where they treat you like crap. Or yeah, they literally treat you right. It's not like a one where it's like good manners. It's just they literally treat you like crap, and you're paying $60.
Last time, it's actually very good, and with a cast discount, it's not that expensive. I think it happened to be on the 40% discount. They had a few that were on 40% when I was there. I can't remember if it was on that, but I believe it was.
Right,
and it's actually very good.
Right.
They don't treat you too bad. It's more, I would say, it's more joking there.
Yeah.
Now, Whispering Canyon Cafe, they do kind of treat you like crap. Like, they had to dial it back a little bit because people were complaining. But yeah, I actually got thrown in jail at Whispering Canyon because they brought out like jail bars and put me behind them. So, but yeah, both of those are very good restaurants. But yeah, sorry to interrupt.
Oh no, you're good. No, I was gonna say I think that's right next to the character buffet option as well. Now with that I would recommend if you're like, family with like real little kids, because you're not gonna have Mickey, Minnie, none of that. I think it's literally just like characters from Disney kids shows, if I'm not mistaken. It's not like at Magic Kingdom or Animal Kingdom where they're just it's the Fab Five and Safari outfits or anything like that. No, it's literally just kid Disney show characters. So if you do want to go to a character buffet, probably the best one would be Animal Kingdom. We'll get, once we get to Magic Kingdom, I'll talk about that one here in a minute. And it's not just my viewpoint; it's others that also, that's why I'll give the verdict that I give it. But yeah, definitely, just keep that in mind when you go. That is what the buffet option is there as well. And with that, we can go on to number 2.
Yep. So this is where I think it will change up a bit. I have a feeling our numbers 1 and 2 are different. Because I shockingly have in the number 2 spot Magic Kingdom. And it's because, like, it was very hard to decide this, honestly. Like I said, 1, 2, and 3 were very difficult. Magic Kingdom, I think, easily has the best attractions base of all of them. It has so many for any kind of things that you enjoy. If you're not a thrill person, you can still have a great time there. It has pretty good quick service compared to some of the other parks. It has Dole Whip. I mean, you can't go wrong with that. It has multiple iconic desserts, really.
You put Dole
Um,
number 2. Oh, the humanity.
the reason it falls to number 2 for me just is someone who is down there, and you're going to be going at least twice a week to the parks. I would say if you're on a program, it just becomes kind of tiring to even get inside the Magic Kingdom. And I will say it almost makes it more special going there, because it's like I made the effort to get in here. But, from the moment you leave Disney housing, you're talking it's probably going to be at least an hour before you walk through those gates. Because depending on where you get parked in that parking lot, it is a massive parking lot. And they do have the trams, but you have to go through that. You have to go through security. Then you have to get on a monorail or ferry boat, which I love the ferry boats. That's like an attraction of its own. Yeah, and most of the rides at Magic Kingdom you can get on without having to wait an insane amount of time. Jungle Cruise gets a very high wait time, but I really don't even ride it that much anyway. If the seat sat looking forward, I would ride it. But they have you looking at the inside of the boat, and you have to break your neck to look at anything. But it still is an iconic attraction.
The
Space Mountain gets pretty high. Of course, the Neutron coaster that's only like 50 seconds long, you have to get in the virtual queue. But other than that, you can get on most rides there at a reasonable time. But like I said, it really, between this and number 1, really just came down to the easiness of getting in there and getting around and just looking at it from almost like a local perspective. Because other than that, it probably would be number 1 on my list, but that's why it falls to number 2.
See, and the flip flop was gonna happen. I mean, I kind of had a feeling that's where it was gonna go. Sadly, but you cannot, y'all. I'm telling you, when you do have Dole Whip for the first time, if you've had it, you cannot pull Dole Whip at number 2. Absolutely not. It has to be number 1. And it's not even biased just because I worked there. It's really the money shot. Like when you're, and I would honestly recommend, like, if it's your first time ever really going there and like seeing it for the first time, I would say go by ferry, and then when you leave, go by monorail. And the reason why I say that is because by ferry, if you go to the front of it, once it takes off from the dock there, you get the money shot. You get the Cinderella Castle, Prawn, the entrance, everything. And it's just the best shot you can get of Disney World and Magic Kingdom in all its prime and glory. So I think that, Magic Kingdom's definitely at the top. For sure. And, again, my reason for that is not just because just because of all the true iconic rides. Again, if you're not doing Disneyland at all, Disney World's definitely, you have more to do. Compared to that, there's also, again, there's the train ride, like I said in previous video, you can do that. There's Pirates of the Caribbean, of course, where the Dole Whip is close to. There's, and, there's the Aladdin ride, there's the Country Bear Jamboree, there's Space Mountain, there's Big Thunder Mountain. Like we've said it before on this channel, it truly is the wildest ride in the wilderness. You have to emphasize the W, like Stewie does in Family Guy, or it just doesn't do it that justice. And right, exactly. So definitely. There's also inside the park there is a steamboat ride. Now, again, I'm a mixed man. I don't care about doing the race car to bring anything up like that. But there is, like, if you faintly hear it, you can hear, like, the workers, if you will, like moaning and kind of humming a song while the steamboat's going on. And you're like, what the heck is that? That's what it is. It's to add more ambiance to it, and it's definitely the most. Other than Epcot's pretty diverse, of course, with the World Showcase and everything like that. But Magic Kingdom's diverse because, yeah, it's a fantasy. The whole park is, but each fantasy is different. Like again, you have the adventure side, the scary, the horror side, the princess side. All of that's kind of tied in there. There's also the Speedway. There's the Carousel of Progress. I can't believe you said no. Number 2, the People Mover. I mean, that's your favorite ride. How are you gonna put the People Mover at number 2? If I was there,
no, it's because they changed the narration on the People Mover, and now it's worse. Honestly, and I'm gonna talk about that on the video we're going to do about our favorite attractions, because it really knocked that attraction down a peg for me. They changed it to this other narrator to like get it up to date with Tron, and it's worse. It's just simply worse now. I still love it, but another thing, if Splash Mountain hadn't been nuked into oblivion, then I probably would have had Magic Kingdom as number 1, just because it was that good of a ride, and I shudder to think about what it's going to look like when it reopens. But that's another thing that really put it down to number 2 for me.
Yeah, and with Splash Mountain, I went on it a few times, and I'll be honest with everybody. Literally what they're changing it to, it's the same thing. It's that, literally they're just changing it. All right, well, we're going to change it to where it's not completely seen as racist, but it's still going to be kind of, it's still there. It's even worse because instead of the Splash Mountains theme of it, or the goal of it is basically you're just kind of going around with Brer Hare and all that good stuff, and you're trying to avoid Brer Fox and Brer Bear and all that. That's changed to you're trying to find the magic spice for a food dish. I love food. Okay, Jason loves food. We're both from food cities. Okay, we're from the 2 biggest hubs of barbecue in the entire country, and we can tell you when we found out that was the whole point of the ride was you're helping Princess Diana find the special spice. We're just like, no, I can't get behind that at all. So that sadly, again, I can see why people deduct, Magic Kingdom go to 1 to 2 because of that. I still hold it as number 1 because, again, it is truly the most iconic park. There's still plenty of stuff to do there. There's a Hall of Presidents, again, great way to get air conditioning. And there are several buffet options there. There is in fact, they're ironically right next to each other. There's the Liberty Tree Tavern, which is basically, if you love Thanksgiving, guess what? Disney went ahead and made it all you can eat. And it's not like all you can eat where you get up and actually do it like that kind of buffet, like the characters things are. It's more of like you have the appetizer, and then the waiter will ask you, or waitress will ask you, do you want more? And all you have to answer is yes or no. If you say no, you move on to the next course. If you say yes, then they just literally just bring the same thing over and over again. Then there's the Diamond Horseshoe, which is literally, it's a stone's throw away. Like, it'll take you less than a minute to walk over to it. It's also an all-you-can-eat family style buffet they have there, and it's all things barbecue, really good. Not as good as Kansas City, though. Of course, I have to have that bias, but it still is good, and for the price, considering the way inflation is and everything like that, it's not a bad deal. And then as far as the other buffet went, there it is that now that buffet is where it might shock some people. The character buffet there at Magic Kingdom, it's right next to Casey's Corner. It's bad. Like, the food is bad. It's literally the worst buffet on property. and this isn't just me talking, this is everybody's opinion. It is the worst food on property. It's some people even consider the worst experience they've had with character, buffets, which is crazy. But they've said it's the worst in that regard. It's not worth the $75 like the other character buffets are. It's just kind of it's just there. Um, but no, the food very very bad. So, in fact, again, if it's not even voted the worst character buffet on property. It's the worst voted buffet on property. And again, it's sad to say, even though I didn't work you know at that location, but I do know for a fact that no, not a lot of people consider very high praises for it at all. I mean, it is simple as simple can be. Now, if you want simple food, or I guess if you wanted simple food, and there's a buffet for it, sadly, Disney, they close. Sometimes, you don't know a good thing till it's gone. And Disney did that with the buffet I'm going to mention, and Jason knows it very well. Yeah, I was actually at the Fort Wilderness area, and you took a little boat over to this island, and it was the best. If you like soul food, if you like American food, that was the place to go. And man, was it good. And sadly, it closed, I think, either right after our program ended in 2020 or it ended like the following
They
year.
just
But
recently closed it. It's becoming
okay,
a quick service location now, which is
not the
absolutely
same.
ridiculous to turn a buffet into that.
Yeah, I mean, it truly was like one of the best buffet, and it was reasonably priced. It was like, I think, $30, so it was very reasonably priced in my opinion. So yeah, I think, like I said, $30 at most. I mean, that's pretty good. And yeah, no characters, but still, like, if you wanted the good macaroni and cheese, the good fried chicken, the good barbecue, the good green beans, all that good stuff, the desserts, that was the place to go. And that's just how it went. But anyway, that's quite a bit of rambling, I guess, as far as this food goes. But yeah, Magic Kingdom definitely number one. I'll let Jason explain Epcot and why he put his number one, and then I'll explain why I have it as.
Right. And one last word on Splash Mountain. If you think Splash Mountain was racist, just look up New Orleans salt mines, 1800s. I mean, look it up at your own discretion, but I will say the new attraction, they're claiming it's a salt mine. That's how they tried to make it make sense that there was a mountain in New Orleans. But of course, everyone knows mines come out of the ground, right? And not into the ground. But no, anyway, just look up New Orleans salt mines 1800s and then tell me that Splash Mountain was racist. But anyway, going on to Epcot. Oh, and I will say, kind of going back to the favorite versus best argument type thing that I was saying at the beginning, Magic Kingdom, if someone was coming down here for their first trip ever or their one trip a year, Magic Kingdom would be number one on my list because it is the best Disney park. Like, it is just the Disney park. I know some people prefer Disneyland. I've never been there. It probably does have a better ambiance to it, but Magic Kingdom has a lot more in it, and especially for Orlando, it's like the quintessential Disney park, obviously.
Right.
But no, Epcot, the reason it gets to number one on my list of favorite parks, and this is probably heavily influenced by when I did my program in 2022, we were blocked out of almost every park all the time. Epcot was like the only one that ever had any availability because all the COVID stuff was going crazy with like the rules and everything and the limit on capacity. So I went there a lot, either there or Universal. But no, the reason it's number one for me is because even if it is an absolutely slam-packed day, the busiest you've ever seen it at Disney, you can still have a good time at Epcot. Because you can walk around the World Showcase. There's plenty of shops and things to go in. Get some food from one of the food booths. You can ride the attractions that aren't like the e-ticket attractions, Living with the Land, the Grand Fiesta Tour, those kind of things. You can pretty much walk onto those all the time, almost. I just find it to be the best park for a local to go to. The dining options are insane, even not just the festival options, but the quick service and table service options are amazing there because you get the cultural, obviously in the World Showcase you get all the different cultural areas of the food and stuff, so it's definitely on a different level, I think, when it comes to food and beverage. And it's not a very hard park to get into either. It does have a big parking lot, but it's not like ridiculous. You don't have to take a ferry or anything. You can just walk in. But no, it really does just come down to the fact that you can have a good time there no matter the circumstances. And you have the Skyliner if you want to go do some thrill type rides and stuff at Hollywood Studios. Of course, you have the monorail in Magic Kingdom as well. But yeah, I just find it to be the most laid back park. I mean, it's the adult park, so that's pretty much why it's number one on my list. Even as someone who doesn't drink, I find it is number one. So it's pretty much my speech on that.
Yeah, and I mean, I will say, Epcot with the World Showcase, now COVID hit it pretty hard, because, you want to talk about college program making a big impact. The international college program, that's where it was felt, because there were, in any of the countries, I think, when you and I went there last to check on it, none of them had people from those specific countries. They were just people from Florida, which was sad, because considering, almost you could call it Disney in its prime, if you will. When we did the program, Morocco had every cast member you could think of was from Morocco. France, Germany, and etc. I mean, that's just how it was. And sadly, COVID really changed all that, and Disney kind of went away from it. I don't know if it'll get back to its former glory that it once was, but I mean, that's why I think it's number two. Now, again, if you are, over the age of 21 and stuff like that, it is a good place to go and drink, and there is good food options, of course. There's a Mexican restaurant, the Mexican Pavilion, that's pretty good. They literally have margaritas on tap there. I mean, literally right outside the pavilion. If you really want a margarita, you just go up and get one. I think it's $8 or maybe 10, but yeah, just go up and get one and go from there. And there is even it's like a thing. We're gonna talk about the truth behind the magic kind of thing. It's an unkept or recorded thing where it's like drinking around the world, where you literally have a drink of alcohol at every pavilion on your way through Epcot. I mean, if you do it, fine. You don't have to do it, because some of the drinks can get pretty pricey. So keep that in mind. Like, if you think, oh, I can do it for $60, think again. It's probably going to be like anywhere from 100 to maybe even 120, depending on what you're getting. So yeah, that's kind of my word of advice there, is if you do it, that is something to keep. But yeah, like the Japanese pavilion, awesome. Back in 2019, 2020, that was one of the best pavilion to go to. And then, of course, USA has the biggest. But, yeah, it was definitely something
America.
America. Exactly. And, there are some buffet options there, of course. There's the one in the German pavilion, and that one it's Jason, I think you ate there too. I know I did. It was okay.
I never got to, unfortunately.
Oh, you never
well,
got
I
to?
say unfortunately, but I haven't heard the greatest of things, so maybe it was actually fortunately.
I mean, I was gonna say, yeah, like, for those who don't know, again, I like German food. The bratwurst, the sauerkraut, yeah, that's just good, to me. That's fine. But literally, if that's the only options you have, and you have like a cheese beer soup and a few other things that aren't really like prime rib or anything like that, and that's it. Now, the performance is good, but you also have to keep in mind you only get to eat as long as the performance goes. So once the performance is done, they're like, you gotta go. It's not like the other buffets where you can just keep eating. It's truly an all you can eat, and you can just keep eating till your heart's content. With the German pavilion, it's definitely like, hey, there's a show. Once that show is over, you got to get out of there. But again, it's a good buffet, I guess. If you like, another thing too, if you're thinking it's like a normal buffet where you get your own table and stuff, no, it's truly like traditional German style eating where these just long, giant tables, and you sit across from complete strangers and you interact with them and you get to know them. Maybe they work for the company, maybe they don't. But it's definitely a while. Also, if you love beer, you got 2-liter mug. I mean, you can go wild if you really want to. But yeah, overall, Epcot is good for the diversity of it and for other stuff. Of course, there's Soarin', great ride. It's definitely a fun, relaxing ride. We recommend, of course, being on the top, because there's 3 levels, and we really recommend that top level, because otherwise, if you're on the middle or bottom level, you have to deal with people's legs being in the way of the projection and that kind of stuff. But yeah, it really just picks you up straight up, and you go high up in the air, and it's pretty cool, and you're really just soaring around the world, if you will. So yeah, that's just something to keep in mind. What else? I think that's about it for me personally. But yeah, I guess another thing I could kind of add about Magic Kingdom would be, if you do take the monorail back, is you're going through very expensive, very nostalgic resorts as well, like the very first resorts of of Disney World, with the Contemporary, the Grand Floridian, the Polynesian, stuff like that. Like, and how old are they? The Beatles stayed at the Polynesian. That's how old it is, folks. Like, it's so yeah, they've been there a very long time. So yeah, I mean, it's good just to see, if your nostalgia is your thing, Magic Kingdom #1. If you're looking for more of an adult vibe, and definitely if you want to drink more, and they definitely have good quick service, way better quick service options than the like Animal Kingdom or Hollywood Studios, like we said. There's like I know in like Germany you can get giant pretzels, and France you can get specific things like good fromage, good cheese, and stuff like that. And definitely, I would also, if you love food, definitely go during the I think it's the Taste Around the World or something like that, or maybe I got the name wrong, but
the Food and Wine Festival.
The Food and Wine Festival, right? Yeah, literally just throughout the entire World Showcase, they have not only the specific countries dish specialty to the Food and Wine Festival, but there's also sub countries like England will also have like a sub country that is Ireland, and they had a really good potato dish I had the last time it was there when I did it. It was awesome. And then there's also the Flower Festival. It's good, but yeah, it's definitely something to think about. When you're ranking your parks. And again, how did you guys feel about our rankings? Were they good? Were they kind of bad? Were they shocking? Did they make you angry at us? It's okay, no matter the feeling, because at the end of the day, we're just giving our opinion, so you don't have to take, you can always take things with a grain of salt. But yeah, this is just our personal viewpoints on, these parks and, why they're ranked, how they are. And Jason, I'll turn it over to you, brother.
Thank you. Yeah, to quote Muppet Vision 3D, like talking about the size of the American Adventure Pavilion in Epcot, the World Showcase is kind of like
a salute to all countries, but especially America.
Like, that's pretty much the World Showcase in a nutshell. And like you said, it's definitely a very good point that the World Showcase still has not completely recovered from COVID. I would say it's mostly back. The cultural representative program has pretty much come back full force. But the shop in Morocco, like one of the top 3 shops in Epcot, is still gone. It was a third-party company, so they just left. Nothing has been put there now. There's like tables back there. But yeah, it was very weird, like going to Japan and buying something like in one of the stores or at a food booth or something, and it's just a white dude serving you. It's like, thought this was Japan. But yeah, I guess pretty much just to recap, for our lists, we both had Animal Kingdom and Hollywood Studios at number 4 and 3 respectively. I had Magic Kingdom at 2 and Epcot at 1. Blaze, of course, had Magic Kingdom at 1 and Epcot at 2. But hopefully this list at least gave you something to think about. Definitely go try everything out, especially if you're on your college program. And you will decide where you really like to go. I know Epcot pretty much became the place that I went. Epcot and Hollywood Studios kind of back and forth. But I would try to go to Magic Kingdom like once a week if possible, because that was a place I would always just love going in, riding pirates, getting a Dole Whip. Even if that's all I did, that was fine. But yeah, we hope you enjoyed this. We hope it gave you some entertainment value at least. You got to hear us rag on the new Tiana ride, so hopefully that was enlightening. I have high hopes for it. Like, not high hopes, but I'm hoping it will at least be half decent, so I'll at least want to ride it during the fireworks or something like that. But it's not sounding good so far. But anyway, other than that, I believe that wraps it up for this video. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you next time.
Kermit the Frog here.